Fear that Israel might go nuclear if they start to think that Iran is really close to having nuclear weapons on their own. I mean, they're not, and they haven't been. And Tulsi Gabbard, Trump's own intelligence lady, said as much, but Trump said she's wrong, and then she backpedaled. Hello, is this a doomer stream? What do you mean? No, it's not a doomer stream. Why would this be a doomer stream? Do you like doomer streams? This is a very hopeful stream, full of positivity and energy. I'm a very energetic and hopeful person. Is doomer friendly? I mean, I'm still Polish, so yeah, it is doomer friendly. It still worries me. Well, we'll see. We'll look through the updates now. Also, if you like what I do, if you like my hijinks, shenanigans, then do what's right and consider this page that I'm about to link on YouTube. Right. Okay, let's watch. Let's watch this clip.
Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran...
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too. Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before.
I never seen such... What is that even? I've never seen such bombs. Israel has bombs, the likes of which nobody has ever seen of which. New philosophy dropped. Polish doomerism. Polish doomerism has always been a thing. It's not new. Polish people have been known to be complainers and doomers, like it's considered a Polish national trait or something along these lines. Yeah, that's the quote.
The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know,
oh my God. Okay, let's watch.
I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land.
I'm so unhappy with those people that just didn't go around with my whims and didn't do a ceasefire that I just decided was a thing. I'm so disappointed in both sides. Okay, let's go.
I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
This should be my subscription sound. Also, there's no process. Okay? The process is a lie. Trusting in some magic process is cope. I said it. There, I said it. Okay? If you trust that there's some process, there's some plan, you're just coping out of your mind. Full on copium. Alright, let's go to the CNN page where we're gonna do White House envoy slams Iran intel leak. Alright? US... Okay, so before we go ahead with these updates, I'm gonna tell you this. There's been two very conflicting reports on the damage of the US strikes on the two facilities. Okay? Fordo and the other one, which name I forgot. Like, one report says that Fordo has not really been damaged much and that the nuclear program of Iran has been set back only by a few months at best. And then there's the other thing that says, from the US government, that says, no, actually, we did a lot of damage, tons of damage, and the program has been set back for years. And now we have to go through the updates and figure this mess out, okay? Is it months? Is it years? Is Fordo gone? Is Fordo still standing? Has Iran evacuated most of the material before the attack? Has it not evacuated most of the material? Is the Iran nuclear project dead in the water? Or is it fine and just, still chugging along, right? The plan seems to be Trump's brain lighting up whenever his fifis get validated. His fifis being narcissism and egomania, that's true, unfortunately. Unfortunate as it is, that seems to be true. All right, let's go. So, US President Donald Trump's, I've given you this context about the two conflicting reports on what actually happened during the strikes. US President Donald Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff has hit out the leak of classified US intelligence that suggested damage done by Saturday's US strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites was limited, calling the sources treasonous. I don't take it as a good sign that when an envoy says whatever news we don't like, the source has to be treasonous. I'm not sure I like this language. Treasonous source. 7 people briefed on an early US intelligence assessment told CNN that Iran's nuclear program had only been set back a few months by the US attack, despite the usage of 14 huge bunker buster bombs in the raid. I'm pretty sure that there were assessments by some experts that the US would need to use tactical nuclear weapons to actually penetrate to the nuclear facility. And I'm pretty sure they did not use those. US analysis of the damage to the sites and the impact of the strikes on Iran's nuclear ambitions is ongoing, and it could change as more intelligence becomes available. So this update from like a day ago, 19 hours, 10 minutes ago, basically says that we don't know, we cannot know, we have to wait for more information. We're going like in chronological order. We're going from yesterday, from 1 day ago up, so we can have like a fuller picture. It's incredible how he didn't change a bit. I recommend checking out his show where he was firing people in The Apprentice. I watched his speeches and I watched his interviews about politics from the 80s, and he really has not changed a bit. He had the same talking points that he has now. Hello, I'm just here to watch a trash fire. Okay, I'm here. Thank you for being here. I'm just here to watch a trash fire. You have come at a perfect moment because we are doing a trash fire. Have you come here from President Sunday? Oh God, please don't tell Trump that he will genuinely nuke Iran if he thinks it's the only way. I mean, the US has considered using tactical nuclear weapons for this. That has been sort of considered to penetrate the mountain to get to Fordo. So keep that in mind. Speaking to Fox News, anchor Laura Ingraham Tuesday, Steve Witkoff said, okay, it goes without saying that the leaking of that sort of information, whatever the information, whatever site it goes out on, is outrageous. It is treasonous. Oh, so he did not even deny the validity of the information. He just said that informing the public about such things is treasonous. So it ought to be investigated, and whoever did it, whoever is responsible for it, should be held accountable. Oh my God, leaking information that's uncomfortable for us to the public, someone must be punished. Of course, someone has to be punished. Speaking to CNN for the exclusive report, 2 of the people familiar with the assessment said Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium was not destroyed. Oh, this is important. I'm going to read it again to emphasize this whole thing. Speaking to CNN for the exclusive report, 2 of the people familiar with the assessment said Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium was not destroyed, which that alone means that the Iranian nuclear program has not been actually stopped or destroyed. One of the people said the centrifuges are largely intact. Another source said that the intelligence assessed enriched uranium was moved out of the sites prior to the US strikes. I already know that somewhere above Trump will say, no they didn't evacuate anything, it was all good, it was all fine, we destroyed everything. Not raiding Lucy is racist, I know. Anti-Polish action. I tried to tell him you were live, but he cut stream too quick. Aw, thank you. Thank you, I'm just here to watch a trash fire. Thank you very much. Fido is doing Fido things. That is rich. Accountable, punished, destroyed. Trump on Tuesday dismissed the report as fake news, while Witkoff, speaking to Fox, called it completely preposterous. I love how Trump just ignores any intelligence he gets. The Tulsi Gabbard one was like the biggest example of that. Like, I love how that happened. Tulsi Gabbard reported Iran is not any close to getting nuclear weapons, and Trump is like, she's wrong. She's just incorrect. I feel it in my gut that they're close. Fake news. Calling his own people fake news spreaders. There's no doubt that Iran's nuclear capability was obliterated, so the reporting out there that in some way suggests that we didn't achieve the objective is completely preposterous, he said. Any facts that contradict our truth is treasonous and preposterous. I love it. I love it. How dare you suggest that we might have failed? Israel's Smutrich rejects early US military assessment on extent of damage to Iran's nuclear facilities. Oh, if Israel says that it's completely obliterated, then it has to be. Israel's far-right finance minister. Okay. Okay, of course I trust Israel's far-right finance minister more than US military assessment, of course. Why am I such a dummy? Why didn't I think of that before? Well, yeah, your intelligence said she's wrong. Okay, Mr. President, lol. Bro, I love this. Israel's far-right finance minister, the biggest expert on the military and the biggest expert on assessing damage done by B-2 bombers. Well, with that source of information, I can now rest assured that Fordo was completely obliterated. First reported by CNN that Washington's strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities did not destroy the core components of its nuclear program. Nobody knows what exactly has been damaged, and it will take some time. Okay, that's more fair. Smojit told Israel's Kan Radio Wednesday. Although you should not just dismiss the early reports, okay? On Saturday, US B-2 bombers dropped 14 30,000-pound bunker busters bombs on the Fordo fuel enrichment plant and the Natanz enrichment complex in Iran. I'm pretty sure the Natanz one was actually destroyed. I'm pretty positive that the Natanz one was actually wrecked in the explosions. Sources familiar with early US intelligence assessments told CNN the bombs did not fully eliminate either side's centrifuge. Okay, so I stand corrected. Apparently even the Natanz, because Natanz, as far as I understand, is not as fortified as Fordo, of highly enriched uranium. Speaking to Kan Radio Wednesday, Smudrik said Israeli and US actions against Iran's nuclear program had taken them many years back. Wait, hold on. Okay, that makes perfect sense. First, the far-right finance minister dismisses the early report saying that the damage was not as great as we thought. He said, we don't know what the damage was. But then later, he confidently said that actually the attack took the programs many years back, even though he said that we don't know. So do we know or do we not know? Because if the program was taken many years back, then we know. So your statement earlier that we don't was a lie. You lied before. This statement is full of contradictions. Like, of course, I mean, he's a finance minister. What would he know about assessing damage to nuclear facilities? Like, why is this guy's... Just because he's a minister, it doesn't mean that we should, like, treat his opinion on military matters as of any significance or importance. Like, am I crazy for thinking that? Just because you're part of the government doesn't mean that your assessment on everything will always deserve respect, okay? Unless this person, outside of being a finance minister, has some military know-how that I don't know about. Otherwise, I don't care. NATO chief stands by praise for US attacks on Iran. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said he stands by his message of congratulations to US President Donald Trump for his decisive action in Iran. We're gonna see the whole Daddy Trump thing. It's coming. It's gonna be somewhere along the way. Rutte congratulated Trump. What a suck-up, by the way. Rutte congratulated Trump and called the US attack on Iran truly extraordinary in text messages posted by the president to social media Tuesday. Oh God. Speaking to reporters at the NATO summit in the Netherlands Wednesday morning, Rutte said he was not reconsidering his praise of US attacks after media reports called into question their efficacy. CNN reported Tuesday that US military strikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities did not destroy the core components of the country's nuclear program and likely only set it back by months. According to early US intelligence assessment that was described by 7 people briefed on it. Still, Root continued to praise Trump and US military actions in Iran Wednesday. So much praise for Mr. Donald. Root, totally fine with Trump sharing his phoning text message, stresses the US is committed to Article 5. Oh boy. I have to find that statement by Donald Trump when he says that Article 5 actually has many definitions, even though it absolutely does not. Yeah, of course, but it's American media, so they believe everything said by a fascist, especially from Israel. True. Especially a finance minister. This is so ridiculous to me. Why not get an opinion from the Minister of Agriculture while we're at it? Like, why not get his opinion on the assessment of the damage done to Fordo? So ridiculous. So silly. NATO's chief Mark Rutte says he is totally fine that US President Donald Trump publicly shared a funny text message as he flew to the Netherlands for Wednesday's Leaders Summit, insisting everything he wrote in his text was true. What I said in the text message to him, totally fine. Oh, hold on. I thought I was reading a Trump quote, but I'm not. I'm reading Rutte. Why not ask the Minister of Health or how the economy is doing? True. Which in the US would be RFK Jr. How depressing. What I said in the text message to him, totally fine that he published it, Rutte said as the summit was getting underway at The Hague. I think it's a statement of fact. He rejected a reporter who asked whether the episode wasn't a little embarrassing. Absolutely not, he said. Oh my god. So much dick sucking all around. I cannot call it anything else. This is dick sucking. What is in that text message is a statement of fact. Okay, the message which Trump posted on Truth Social as he flew on to Europe on Monday praised the US leader for pressing NATO members to spend more on defense. Again, the topic is more complicated than that. Like, it's not just a matter of spending more money, of throwing more money at the problem. You have to spend it more wisely. You have to get more bang for your buck. Like, again, it is a problem of the fragmentation of Europe's defense industry. That has to be solved. Like, spending more money won't fix it. Like, I hate to say this, but manufacturing weapons in Europe is far more expensive than in the US and Russia, for example. Because each individual defense industries in Europe produce less for domestic use, which means that they do it for more money. Because the more you produce, the cheaper it gets. It's silly. And throwing more money will not fix that problem. What will fix that problem, at least partially, will be streamlining production across Europe. Okay? Same things are being produced, cooperation, producing things together in larger quantities. That will be the key to getting more bang for your buck, not these little segmented, fragmented, separated nation-state industries working separately with their little tweaks, which, by the way, make systems of weaponry mutually incompatible across European states, which is also a problem. And that includes artillery, which Ukraine has painfully learned while receiving aid from Europe. So, yeah. You will achieve something no American president in decades could get done. Europe is going to pay in a big way, as they should. And it will be your win. Oh my god. Oh my god. Rutte wrote before wishing the US president safe travels to the Netherlands for the NATO summit. Yeah, it's just pathetic. Of course, our leftists like Lucy would think streaming the economy and increasing competition and breaking up monopolies would improve the economy instead of the correct solution of targeting immigrants. Oh yeah, I forgot. You also have to... I forgot. You also have to clean up your countries of all these dirty immigrants. I forgot. Sorry. I'm sorry, fake Alec Carl Parker. I'm not doing correct analysis. That's why I'm a micro streamer and not a big streamer like all those bigger figures that have figured it out. It's true. Immigrants are the fault of everything. Criminals, mental health asylum loons, and they all want a sex change. I'm telling you. On the same flight, Trump stopped short of voicing full support for the NATO Treaty's Article 5 provision of collective defense, but Ruth said he was unconcerned. God, I want to find that quote when Trump said that Article 5 has many different definitions. That's the one that I want to find. For me, there is absolute clarity that the United States is totally committed to NATO. Oh, to me there isn't. Hold on. No, there isn't. There isn't clarity. Didn't Trump sort of kind of threaten to invade a NATO country? Hold on. I have to Google it because I feel like I'm going crazy. I feel like I'm going completely out of my mind. I'm gonna Google this very simple question, okay? Is Denmark in NATO? Oh wow, it is! Well, what do you know? Founding member as well. Wow. Hold on. It just doesn't make sense to me. This just doesn't gel for me. How can Trump and the United States be committed to NATO if he directly threatened to invade a NATO member state? I don't know. It feels like the moment the US sort of threatens to, even if it doesn't mean to do it, even if it floats around the idea of invading a NATO member state, it just sort of undermines the whole idea of NATO, doesn't it? Am I crazy for thinking that? Am I silly for sort of coming to that conclusion? At that point, it's no longer NATO, it's the Warsaw Pact, actually. You fall out of line, you're gonna be invaded. That sounds more like the Warsaw Pact than NATO. Well, whatever. Totally committed to Article 5, and yes, there's also an expectation that will be fulfilled today that the Canadians and Europeans will speed up their spending, he said Wednesday. It's not just about upping your spending, it's about using your spending more wisely, which, so we went over this. Enriched uranium, a vital component in nuclear weapon, is painstaking to make. Less than 1% of natural uranium is uranium. Here we go. The enrichment process. Iran's parliament votes to suspend cooperation with UN nuclear watchdog. So we're gonna read that. Iran's parliament voted Wednesday to suspend the country's cooperation with UN nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency. State media outlet IRIB reported. The decision by Iran's Islamic Consultative Assembly, known as the Majlis, will now need to be ratified by the Supreme National Security Council, chaired by President Masoud Pezeshkian. Votes by the Majlis, particularly when concerning foreign affairs, are often considered to be symbolic, unless backed by the more powerful body handpicked by Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. On Sunday, in the wake of U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, Parliament's National Security and Foreign Policy Committee proposed to the legislature that the Strait of Hormuz, which lies on Iran's southern coast, should be closed, which would raise the oil prices, which would be excellent for Russia, just so you know. So closing the Strait of Hormuz would definitely be great for Russia and its war effort against Ukraine. Because whenever I can, I will always bring it back to the topic that I mostly cover. That decision would ultimately also lie with the Supreme National Security Council. The IAEA has pushed for a resumption of its relationship with Iran, paused by Israel's unprecedented strikes on nuclear facilities in the country beginning June 13th. On Tuesday, the watchdog released a statement welcoming the end of the 12-day conflict. Oh my god, that whole fiasco that never ended and never had a chance to end. And there's an explanation as to why the ceasefire never had a chance to succeed, okay? Like there's a really important reason why, because the balance in the region has been very heavily shifted in Israel's and United States' favor, and Iran doesn't really have any leverage in the negotiations. So of course, this ceasefire was very brittle to begin with. But I guess Trump just doesn't understand that. Saying IAEA inspectors have remained in Iran throughout the conflict and are ready to start working as soon as possible, going back to the country's nuclear sites and verifying the inventories of nuclear material, including more than 400 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60%, which they last verified a few days before the Israeli strikes began on June 13th. CNN has reached out to IAEA for further comment, and this is about the enrichment process. The more times this process occurs, the higher the concentration. 90%, I believe, is what you need for a nuclear weapon. Israel offensive shows no signs of abating in Gaza.
The IDF says it is now focusing its efforts no longer on Iran and these sort of 12 days of conflict.
Wait, hold on. What is their focus now? Gaza again? Children in Gaza? Is that their new focus again?
That it has been engaged in with Iran, but now wants to shift focus to Gaza, saying...
There we go. There we have it. I knew it.
That the forces will be fully refocused to toppling Hamas.
Oh, look.
Fully refocused.
Oh, look, they've shown some Hamas terrorist forces. Wow, they should be bombed. Damn. I've never seen such vicious people, such vicious terrorists. Get him. Get him, Israel. Till it's too late. Get that kid before he grows up to become a super terrorist.
Focus to toppling Hamas and retrieving the 50 hostages, 20 of whom are believed to be alive. And we did hear as well today from the Missing Family Hostage Forum, who basically were imploring Israel's leadership to include Gaza as part of this Israel-Iran ceasefire. And worth
nope, no way. Who cares about what hostages want?
Noting as well to our viewers around the world that while this
also the ceasefire has failed, so that's neither here nor there.
Has been playing out over the last 12 days, more than
what a joke.
860 people killed in Gaza, more than 70 in just the last 24 hours. The UN continuing to warn of a man-made famine looming.
Yeah, children dying as little babies dying as they don't have baby formula.
As the disastrous humanitarian situation continues to unfold, Max. So potentially now the hope is, in some quarters at least, that this ceasefire, which is holding tentatively, could create space to pivot back to Gaza in efforts to...
I'm pretty sure it's not holding.
...negotiate a ceasefire there.
But then again, this is from 17 hours ago, 20 or 1 minute, so... Trump says U.S. strikes on Iran nuclear sites could help achieve Gaza deal. I think great progress is being made on Gaza because of the attack that we made. I think we're going to have some very good news. Okay, I don't trust this statement at all. He says that about everything. I hear that about Ukraine every 2 weeks. Like, I read about Trump saying that we're gonna have some very good news about Ukraine very soon, regularly from Trump. And you know what? We never get the good news, so I'm not expecting good news here either. I actually expect the opposite. I expect horrible, crippling news. Like, is this my doomerism coming out? Is this me being Polish? Is this my inner Pole just coming out? I expect horrible news, he told reporters at the NATO summit on Wednesday. I think that it helped a little bit. It showed a lot of power. Oh yeah, the strongman. Strongman Trump showed his power level. How wonderful, how amazing. He added, separately, even before this, we were very close to making a deal on Gaza. No, you were not. Come on, that's BS. You always say that you are close to getting a deal. Well, you never get the deal. You're always so close and yet so far. Always so close, yet always so far. Trump maintains Iran strikes caused total obliteration, but acknowledges damage report was inconclusive. Hold on. How can you say in one breath that the damage report was inconclusive and then also claim that the strikes caused total obliteration? If the strikes caused total obliteration, then it's conclusive. What the hell is that? What is this? What is this nonsense? It's your inner Pole being based and correct. U.S. President Donald Trump maintained Wednesday that the strikes he ordered on Iranian nuclear facilities caused total obliteration, even after an initial classified report found the attack only set back Tehran's nuclear program by a few months. Lashing out at the media, including CNN, which reported on the findings, Trump argued the strikes put Iran's nuclear ambitions back decades. Still, Trump acknowledged the intelligence was inconclusive and preliminary and suggested Israel would provide a fuller picture shortly with its own findings. The intelligence was very inconclusive, so you cannot say that it's obliterated their potential. Trump said at the sidelines of the NATO summit in The Hague, "The intelligence says we don't know. It could have been very severe." Okay, there's a difference between we don't know and very severe and totally obliterated. I think Trump should know the difference between these things as the president of the United States. Like, even very severe is still not completely obliterated. Trump called on two of his subordinates, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, to buffer his assertions about the damage assessments. Each insisted Iran's nuclear program had been badly damaged, and each suggested nefarious intentions behind the leak of the report. Badly damaged is also not completely obliterated. Like, what is happening here? Do people really don't know the difference between big damage and total obliteration? He doesn't even know his kid's birthday. You think he'll know law? It was a top secret report. It was preliminary. It was low confidence, Hegseth said to the assessment by the Defense Intelligence Agency, saying there was political motives behind leaking it and that an FBI investigation was underway to identify the leaker. The leaker is so anti-American, I'm telling you. The leaker is so anti-American. You wouldn't believe how much. Rubio said Iran was now way behind where they were just 7 days ago. How do you know if the reports are inconclusive? And if we don't know, then how can you say that? It's either we don't know or we do know, and it's this. Now anything in the world can be rebuilt, but now we know where it is, and if they try to rebuild, we'll have options there as well. It can rebuild somewhere else. That's also an option, as long as they have material, the know-how, etc. Trump says he doesn't believe Iran moved enriched uranium ahead of US strikes. How does he know that? How does he know these things? How does he have such great insight into what Iran did and didn't do if the reports are inconclusive and we don't know? In his remarks alongside the NATO chief in the Netherlands today, the US President Donald Trump said he did not believe the uranium being enriched. I guess he's just giving his opinion, but it still feels weird. They didn't have a chance to get anything out because we acted fast. If it would have taken 2 weeks, maybe, but it's very hard to remove that kind of material. Very hard and very dangerous for them to remove it. How do you know? How do you know it was hard for them? How do you know how hard it was for them? How do you know how much in advance they knew about the attack? How do you know how much time they had to evacuate the material? This is all vibes. This is all just, I feel that has to be true. This is so stupid. Like, this is so immensely stupid. It's always vibes with Trump. I feel like they could not have evacuated it. After all, it's so difficult. It's so hard. Oh, God. Plus, they knew we were coming. And if they knew we were coming, and if they knew we were coming, they're not going to be down there. What? This is the stupidest thing I've just ever read. Okay, maybe not ever. This is the stupidest thing I've read in a while. Plus, they knew we were coming. And if they knew we're coming, they're not going to be down there. What? But if they knew you were coming, then they had time in advance to evacuate the material because they knew you were coming. What the hell? They would not evacuate the material because they knew you were coming? Lucy, I think you're being mean to the lying authoritarian with massive ego who wasn't loved by his father. Oh, God. Some of the early assessments have raised questions over whether the US destroyed we already know this. Trump said Iran would not have agreed to a ceasefire with Israel had the attack not been successful. Iran broke the ceasefire! Oh my God. This is so brilliant in retrospect, okay? This is comedy. Peak comedy in retrospect, okay? Considering that the ceasefire has been broken. This is amazing. Oh, he did not rule out further strikes on Iran if it rebuilds the nuclear program, but said that was an unlikely scenario. I'm not gonna have to worry about that, he said. It's gone for years. Years, very tough to rebuild because the whole thing has collapsed. Says Trump, who just earlier said that we don't know, actually. This is a comedy. Can't keep your story straight for 5 seconds. Iran may rethink membership of key nuclear non-proliferation treaty, foreign minister suggests. Iran could rethink its membership of a landmark treaty aimed preventing the spread of nuclear weapons in the wake of US and Israeli strikes on its nuclear sites, the country's foreign minister suggested. The attack on our nuclear facilities will certainly have serious and profound repercussions on Iran's future course. We have worked for many years to demonstrate to the world that we are committed to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and willing to work within its framework. But unfortunately, this treaty has not been able to protect us or our nuclear program. I mean, it's true. The United States has clearly said that Iran has no right to enrich uranium, no matter what, even for civilian use, which I say it's unreasonable. Like, you cannot build a nuclear deal based on a demand that, like, the Non-Proliferation Treaty clearly says that countries have the right to enrich uranium for civilian use, like for nuclear energy, for nuclear power plants, right? And the United States told Iran, no, you cannot do that. You have to import all of your uranium if you want to use it for civilian, for infrastructure. And that to me is extremely unreasonable. We don't know, but trust me, bro. All this is the US's fault. We never should have given them a nuclear reactor. I mean, maybe Trump should not have broken that deal that existed, the Obama deal. So, Iran's top diplomat told the outlet it was still too early to address how Iran would react, but said he would imagine that Iran's view of the nuclear program and non-proliferation regime will undergo changes, the direction of which he cannot yet determine. Yes, the peacemaker Trump. Israeli defense minister designates Iran's central bank a terrorist organization because of course, the order aims to target the heart of the Iranian regime's terror financing system, which operates funds and arms terrorism across the Middle East via the Quds Force and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the ministry said, describing the groups as key financial pipeline and supporting Iranian proxies across the region. Trump draws comparison between US bombing of Hiroshima and Iran strikes. Oh god. And now this happened. Usi, I'm too tired to go on. Good night, y'all. Thank you. Good night, Greater Ain't. I mean, to be fair, international law is being treated very loosely by countries nowadays, which saddens me greatly. Like the fact that Hungary said that it would just accept Putin with honors even though he is being he has an arrest warrant on his head by the ICC. So he thinks bombing Hiroshima was a good thing? Of course. And Nagasaki too. US President Donald Trump drew a comparison Wednesday between his strikes on Iran over the weekend and US use of nuclear bombs in Japan, saying both were used to successfully end wars. That is... okay. You know what? I take back what I said just a moment ago. Okay? Just moments ago, I said that the thing before was the stupidest thing that I've read in a while. But you know what? This one takes the cake. This is the stupidest thing that I've read in a while. The bombing of Hiroshima and the attack on the nuclear facilities are completely incompatible. They're completely incomparable. They're completely different things. Also, this strike did not end the war. The ceasefire was broken. Ridiculous. I don't want to use an example of Hiroshima, but he did anyway. I don't want to use an example of Nagasaki, but he did anyway. But that was essentially the same scene that ended that war. I don't want to use those examples, but I'm absolutely going to do it anyway. Trump said at NATO summit in the Netherlands. This ended that war. This ended that with the war. If we didn't take that out, they'd be fighting. What the hell is this rambling? What is this? What is this English still? This ended that with the war. If we didn't take that out, they'd be fighting right now. What? I know English is not my first language, but what the hell is this sentence structure? What did he even say here? This ended that with the war? If we didn't take that out, they'd be fighting right now. The fuck did I just read? This is a quote from him. I have no clue. This is so incoherent. What the hell did I just read? The comments came as Trump worked to underscore the significance of his strikes, which he said set back Iran's nuclear program by decades. I don't think they'll ever do it again. They said that they would absolutely continue, and some countries said that they would even give them nuclear warheads now. Trump said on Iran's nuclear ambitions, they just went through hell. I think they've had it. The last thing they want to do is enrich. No, they said they would still enrich. Like, what the fuck? Like, Trump is so delusional. He said he was awaiting a report from Israel on the damage assessments from Iran, which he said would vindicate his claims of total obliteration. And we have this operation graph. Next. I love going through these in chronological order. Trump maintains Iran's strikes caused total obliteration. Despite early intel report, catch up here. Below are the latest developments. Total obliteration. Trump has insisted that the strikes he ordered on Iranian nuclear sites caused total obliteration, even though he also said that we don't know. Hiroshima comparisons. Controversially, Trump has drawn comparisons between his strikes on Iran over the weekend and the US use of nuclear bombs in Japan, saying both were used to successfully end wars. Incorrect. Gaza deal. He believes that Gaza deal is close. Again, incorrect. Nuclear treaty in jeopardy. Correct. Iran central bank designated as a terrorist organization. Qatar says there is momentum created by Israel-Iran ceasefire to restart Gaza talks. We'll see. This is the time now for President Trump to push for it, and we believe he is sincere about it. We are willing to help on that. Listen, this is my only comment that I've got, okay?
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
That's my comment on the development so far, okay? I think no better comment could be made if I even tried. There's no better way to summarize what's happening. You know, Iran is much further away from nuclear weapons after US strikes, Rubio says. Okay, whatever. He just repeating the same crap all over and over. CNN gets close look at damage left by Israeli airstrike on Tehran residential building. Alright? Oh, there we go. NATO chief says Daddy Trump helped resolve Middle East crisis. Oh boy, that is so pathetic. This is what people have to resort to get the favor of Donald J. Trump. Call him Daddy. Please help us, Daddy. Please help us. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte offered a vivid description of US President Donald Trump's handling of the Middle East crisis during their talks earlier Wednesday, after Trump compared the fighting sides, in this case Israel and Iran, to two kids in a schoolyard. Rutte chimed in with his own analogy. Fuck me. I'm willing to bet good money that Netanyahu both wants to and doesn't want to destroy the nuclear taboo. You know what? That's pretty fair to say. Then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language. Later, Rutte dismissed a question about his weak and demeaning approach to Trump as a matter of taste after referring to Trump as Daddy. Isn't it a bit demeaning and doesn't it make you look weak? A reporter asked Rutte at a concluding news conference in The Hague. No, I don't think so, Rutte said. I think it's a bit of a question of taste, but he is a good friend. When he is doing stuff which is forcing us to, for example, when it comes to making more investments, would you ever think this would be the result of this summit if he would not have been re-elected president? Did you see Hassan Minhaj's interview with McChrystal? No, I haven't. Can you link it? We're gonna go through more updates, but if you can link it, then we can take a look at it. Doesn't he deserve some grace? He went on pointing to Trump's decision to bomb Iran and insisting, I think he deserves all the praise. I think he deserves being called daddy. Wow. Okay. Ruth's comparison was in keeping with his general approach to Trump this week. In a private text message Trump later made public, Ruth fawned over Trump's strikes in Iran. That was truly extraordinary and something no one else dared to do. Yeah, that is dick sucking. A tremendous victory for everybody. Watch Trump's remarks on the US strikes on Iran. Oh boy. Israel Atomic Energy Commission says US strike on Fordo destroyed the site's critical infrastructure. I don't really trust Israel. Okay? I would like an independent group to sort of make assessments on it, not Israel. Because believe it or not, Israel is not a trustworthy party, okay? The devastating US strike on Fordo destroyed the site's critical infrastructure and rendered the enrichment facility inoperable, said the statement with which the White House distributed. We assess that the American strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, combined with Israeli strikes on the other elements of Iran's military nuclear program, has set back Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons by many years. Okay, what is this assessment based on, and how does it differ from the US one that said that it only set it back by a few months? I want a breakdown, okay? I want some sort of like I want a breakdown of what was happening and what it now. What will convince them not to do it? Listen to the latest episode of CNN's One Thing. Oh no, whatever. Promoting your crap. Iran's nuclear installations were badly damaged in US and Israeli attacks, Iranian spokesperson says. Okay, badly damaged is, again, still not total obliteration. Our nuclear installations have been badly damaged, that's for sure, because it has come under repeated attacks by Israeli and American aggressors. He said the country's Atomic Energy Organization and agencies are working on a technical assessment on Iran's future nuclear facilities. So has it been slightly damaged, severely damaged, or totally obliterated? Oh my gosh. The US has to take action to secure stability around the world. Oh, of course. The daddy guy. Israel intercepts drone. Very, very successful. Trump concedes initial US assessment said Iran nuclear sites damage could be limited. Or very severe. What? What the fuck? What? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Trump concedes initial US assessment said Iran nuclear sites damage could be limited or very severe. Could be limited or very severe. The document said it could be very severe damage, but they didn't take that. They said it could be limited or it could be very severe. They really didn't know other than to say it could be limited or it could be very, very severe, Trump said during a news conference at a NATO meeting at The Hague. The site is obliterated and we think everything nuclear is down there, the president. So is it severely damaged or is it whatever? Poland is number one. Again. Trump says US will meet with Iran next week but doesn't believe a nuclear deal is necessary. We're going to talk to them next week with Iran. We may sign an agreement. I don't know. To me, I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, they had a war. They fought. Now they're going back to their world. I don't care if I have an agreement or not. The art of the deal, by the way. The only thing we'll be asking for is that we were asking for before, which is forbidding Iran from doing any enrichment. We want no nuclear, but we destroyed the nuclear. In other words, it's destroyed. Oh my god. We want no nuclear, but we destroyed the nuclear. In other words, it's destroyed. Oh my fucking god. I say Iran will not have nuclear, Well, we blew it up. It's blown up to Kingdom Come, and so I don't feel very strongly about it. If we got a document, it wouldn't be bad. We're going to meet with them. We want to know nuclear, but we destroyed the nuclear. In other words, it's destroyed. Oh god. I'm saving this sentence for a rainy day. We destroyed it. In other words, it's destroyed. Trump says Iran needs oil money to rebuild again, signaling possible flexibility on US sanctions. They're in the oil business. I mean, I could stop if I want to sell China the oil myself. I don't want to do that. They're going to need the money to put that country back into shape. We want to see that happen. Trump early intel report that says US strikes only set back Iran's nuclear program by months is incomplete. He didn't say it's incorrect. He said it's incomplete. They didn't see it. All they can do is take a guess. Have you seen it? Who saw it? You should be proud of these pilots. And you shouldn't be trying to demean them. Those pilots flew at great risk. I don't really have a message. I would say issue the report when you know what happened. I wouldn't say it could be severe or maybe not. They used the word severe. It could be severe or maybe it's not. So people like you picked up and said, oh, it's not severe. The report was not a complete report, he said. I see. Wow. Trump added that he doesn't really have a message for the intelligence community. I don't really have a message. I would say issue the report when you know what happened. I wouldn't say it could be severe or maybe not. They used the word severe. It could be severe or maybe it's not. So people like you picked up and said, oh, it's not severe. The report was not a complete report. That's White House and GOP leadership circulated talking points on Israel-Iran conflict ahead of US strikes. In the lead up to the US military strikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities, the White House and GOP congressional leadership were actively helping to shape the message for President Donald Trump's Capitol Hill allies, according to talking points shared with CNN. President Trump has never wavered in his stance that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon or enrich at all. Meeting with Iran. Intel report on US strikes. Flexibility on sanctions. With Iran's myth of invincibility broken, many now concerned about domestic crackdowns. Top House and Senate intelligence Democrats warn administration against manipulating facts at briefings. At least 35 air defense personnel killed in Israeli attacks. Sent back years. Qatar Airways says at least 90 flights were forced to divert. Oh, NATO chief clarifies earlier comments about Trump. I didn't call him daddy. And I said that sounds a little bit like a small child asking his daddy, hey, are you still staying with the family? So in that sense, I used daddy, not that I was calling President Trump daddy, he continued. What is the state of international politics? I did not call him daddy. Oh, they're still working on the technical assessment, so we don't actually know. We don't know. CIA obtained credible evidence indicating Iran's nuclear program was severely damaged, so not completely obliterated. News conference, and that's it. Wait for new updates. Democratic senator says it's troubling the Trump administration decided to limit classified information on the attack on the Iranian facilities over the weekend. Republicans were briefed and Democrats weren't. Oh yeah, that happened, I remember. And so now apparently President Donald Trump has decided that war and bombing is a partisan and not bipartisan. And this is a real problem. So when they're saying now they're going to pull back even more, this is not about pulling back against Democrats. It's about not informing the American public. Jake Tapper responds to Trump's criticism of CNN's coverage of US strikes on Iran. CNN's Jake Tapper offers a harsh rebuke to US President Donald Trump's attack on media outlets for reporting on a preliminary Defense Intelligence Agency report from the Pentagon that found US strikes likely may have only set Iran's ability to produce a nuclear weapon back by a matter of months. Trump and his administration have repeatedly said that the strikes obliterated Iran's ability to produce a weapon. Trump defends Netanyahu in corruption trial after having harsh words for Israel yesterday. Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a lot of bombs. Oh yeah, that's true. In his Wednesday message, Trump praised Netanyahu, calling him a great wartime prime minister. Oh boy. Oh boy. Bibi and I just went through hell together, fighting a very tough and brilliant long-time enemy of Israel, Iran, and Bibi could not have been better sharper or stronger in his love for the incredible Holy Land. Anybody else would have suffered losses, embarrassment, and chaos, Trump said. I was shocked to hear that the state of Israel, which has just one of its greatest moments in history and is strongly led by Bibi Netanyahu, is continuing its ridiculous witch hunt against their great war time prime minister, he added in the post. Where am I? Hold on. There we go. Oh boy, what a beautiful, beautiful man Netanyahu is. I was shocked to hear that the state of Israel, which has just had one of its greatest moments in history and is strongly led by Bibi Netanyahu, is continuing its ridiculous witch hunt against their great wartime prime minister. Hello, Arkael. Beautiful. Witch hunt. Jake Tapper responds to Trump's criticism of CNN's coverage of US strikes on Iran. Also, hello, Lucy. Good stream. Hello, Vladimir. Welcome, welcome. Mr. Glean, Likud filibuster literally to keep their military dictatorship in place. Hello, Mr. Green. I don't think I've seen you here before. Are you a new viewer? Are you new in this land? Okay. But that's it, I guess. That's all the updates that we have. How did you enjoy? Have you enjoyed my little recap of events